Hello, everyone. This is Evara Voices. We continue our episode from the last one with Tanya Joy Morgan. We've got so many questions to ask, so we decided to continue. Let's hear from Tanya.
Hello again.
Yes, hello again. Thanks for joining, Tanya. Okay, tell us about how you, let us say there are many authors and you're doing a workshop with them. What kind of needs they come up with?
Oh gosh. Um, well, um, I honestly, I would say the biggest one I hear the most is around the visibility. And especially like just what do I say? What do I post online? What do I,
Mm,
how do I get visibility? Like, how do I not be invisible? I think it's kind of all around that sort of an area. I'm actually just trying to think here. I recently did a workshop
mm,
where the questions were pretty specific in terms of how do I find more specific type of people? And
mm.
I'm still in the drafting stage. When should I start trying to connect with people? So it's
Right.
always around the visibility side of thing, which makes sense. I mean, you write a book, that's the most important part, but the second most important part is being able to find readers for that book, right?
Right.
So, um, yeah, it's up. Those are the types of questions. Do you want me to give any insight as to what I tell them, or do
No,
you?
like as you feel is right, because I keep this space very safe. And number one is the guest will know what questions are going to be asked. Number two is taking note, we don't take advantage of their professional space. It's like, let us say that we call a tarot reader or astrologer and we ask questions, and that's not right. That is their professional space. But it will enlighten authors who are struggling.
Yeah,
Because there are authors, see, the questions that I get asked, I will tell you. See if it resonates. Like number one is, okay, how do I go uh, and search and look for a publisher? Do I do traditional publishing or do I do self-publishing? And how good is self-publishing? And if I do self-publishing, how do I market it? These are the questions that come, and these are the problems faced by authors.
yes,
Yes.
yeah.
So without touching on the exact topics that you discuss, you just guide how we take this up.
Yeah, and so I would say that like the space that I'm in specifically, I don't often get much around should I go traditional or self.
Hmm.
Um, because it's just not really what I put out there. Either path is totally valid and they require different things. Most of the stuff is around, like I said, the visibility. What are my options? Do I have to be on social media? Do I have to do the TikTok dance,
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. And then also a lot around tech. So I've got a very long running background in tech, building
Hmm.
websites, working with just the internet, social media spaces, and all that kind of stuff. So I get a lot of technical questions as well. What makes a good website? What do I need to put in my website? What is my website for? Do I need a website? Yes, you
Exactly.
need a website. Um, so yeah, a lot of questions around that. And I think a lot of it is probably shaped by the type of information I put out there. My focus is really more on the early to mid stage authors.
Hmm.
The advanced authors who are, they're already hitting those six figures
Yes.
and they already know what they're doing kind of thing. I might be able to give them a few tips and pointers and whatnot, but they really don't need me. It's more the beginners, the ones who are still drafting, who, have one book out or a handful of books, or the ones that have been writing for a number of years but never gained any traction,
Hmm.
right? So those are the ones that I tend to, that's who I'm for. Those are my target audience. And so those are the people I get questions from. Therefore, a lot of it is around that foundational, where do I
Right.
start? What do I need to do? Do I have to do all these different things?
So, which genre, in your opinion, sells on its own, or easy to? connect with people? But I mean, like, what is okay? I'll frame it differently. What is the pulse of the reader today? What do they want today? What is it that they expect uh, differently from the generations earlier? I mean, like, I would say that when we were in the 20s, we read books like Mills and Bones, and those books are not to be seen nowadays. Enid Blyton or all passe.
Yeah.
Today, people are very clear what they want, whether I'm reading Homo sapiens or, you know, uh, or a self-help book. And so, what, in your opinion, sells well with this current
So
generation?
so it's a really it's a big question.
Mm, yes.
Um, I there's kind of two sides of it. I fully and wholly believe that there is an audience for every book that is out there.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
size of that audience
Mm,
will vary. If you're looking for popularity, then, honestly, really watching the traditional landscape in terms of what they are publishing and what is hitting the
yeah.
top sellers of that in terms of the types of books.
Mm,
But the indie author space is huge, and there are many, many indie authors who are
yes.
making really big names for themselves in a variety of genres. I will say that I think the one that is the loudest
Mm,
is romantasy. So we
okay.
see, and also it's really important to understand that, especially in the online spaces, what seems popular is what you engage with the most, because that's how the algorithms are built. So if you're going in and you are engaging with
Yes.
a particular genre a lot, that's all you're going to see. And it's going to feel really popular because you're going to see so much stuff around that particular genre or type of book. Um, I am in the romantasy space a fair bit,
Mm,
and a broad range on romantasy as well. Like you've got the no spice to the spice, you've
mm,
got young adult, right? Then you've got even just fantasy and just romance where they're not intersecting, so there's a lot of all around that. And that is my primary space. That's where I write.
mm,
My book that I'm writing is a romantic fantasy, so I wouldn't class it as romantasy, but
mm.
it does have a romantic subplot and it's more of a of age fantasy.
Okay.
So I'm in those spaces a lot. So I see a lot of that stuff. But, if you're writing crime or a
Mm,
thriller and you spend a lot of time curating your audiences, that's what you're going to see more of.
okay.
So it's kind of a tricky one to say, especially in the online spaces, right?
Mm,
But as
mm,
far as mass popularity in terms of like general public, my recommendation would be to keep an eye on what the traditional publishing industry is doing, because that's what they do. They kind of chase and shape the market to some extent.
right.
Um, I just don't believe that that is the only way to make a career as an author. I very deeply believe, I have a strong belief that every single author and niche and whatnot has an audience. It just might take a little bit more work for you to
Yeah.
actually find them and build it and grow it.
True. You're right. Another question people ask, and I'm also trying to find answers, is what is this indie author tribe? What is an indie? Who is an indie author, rather?
Yeah, and it's a blurred
Term.
the terminology is getting blurred all around. So, and you will get different opinions
Mhm,
from every person you ask this question to. From what I have seen on a broader scale, as far as what's happening out there, I would say like traditionally published means that you've received in advance and you're getting royalties. It could be small. It could be a $500 advance. There's even some small traditional publishers that they don't give an advance, but they don't
mm,
charge you anything, and you do get paid a royalty. So even that is a more traditional publishing.
yes.
Indie uh, can range anywhere from self-publishing, you're doing everything yourself, to more of a hybrid where I don't really like the term hybrid in this sense, but where you're paying for certain services. Because the thing
Oh,
for self-publishing, you kind of have to pay for certain services if you're doing it right, you know?
yes,
So self-publishing includes you're the publisher. You need to pay for book covers, editing, different marketing paths, you
yes.
know, what you pay is up to you and how much you invest. You've got a lot of control over that, but you're still paying for things. Indie will also refer to some of the small publishers, and that's where the line kind of crosses over a bit. So the indie publishers who don't give an advance but are paying royalties, that to me, that's where the line is the blurriest because some
Mhm.
people will call them indie publishing, some people will still treat them as traditional publishing,
Traditional publishing.
right? So to me, that's where the biggest blur is. But my definition and how I see it is that are you with a publisher that is paying in advance? If you're getting an advance and royalties, you're traditionally published. Everything else is indie.
Oh, really? See,
That's how
because
I look
see,
at it.
like Penguin is the most famous publisher in the world, we can say. I mean, at least most known, we can say, most popular or most familiar.
Yeah, Penguin is one of the top five.
Yes, top. But I don't think they also give pay in advance. They might publish it without taking a fee, and then the royalties might come in. Uh,
And honestly, I'm not in the traditional space that much. I
uh-huh,
researched it. I do keep an eye on it. I don't know all of the various types of contracts they might offer. To my
uh-huh.
understanding, the big five, if you get on with the big five, you are probably getting an advance, even if it's only 500 bucks or 250 bucks.
Please
Um,
mention those top five for viewers to know at least. Mm.
Um, right. So the top five publishers, and I'm actually going to pull it up because
Yes,
it has changed over the years. Um, if I can pull it up, I couldn't get it that quick. I know HarperCollins is in there,
yes.
Penguin.
Mm.
I don't know if Scholastics is deemed one of the top five or not. Let me check this one here. Yeah, HarperCollins, Simon and Schuster, Macmillan, Hachette, and Penguin.
Right.
Those are currently, it might change, I don't know, but they tend to be the top five big publishers. Because
Mm.
like Random House and Penguin merged, so they used to be two different ones, and they're now one. So, and they keep buying each other out. Like there's all kinds
Right.
of stuff, and then imprints come up and they start to get big, and then one of the big five buy them, and it's a
Yes.
constantly shifting landscape. I have not really tried to keep up with it super.
Right. So thanks for that question. Now I think I want to speak about Tanya. We have had enough of the author angle
Sure.
because from what the work that you're doing has to and must have come through the person who's very creative. Because the creative knowing is what leads you to something that you're doing right now. So tell about your journey and why you chose writing. Did it just happen by chance? Because many writers that I meet, they say, I was very down, and that is when creativity happens, and that's true. Or they just, they are very good. I'm very good in writing itself. So that's a natural way, like a fish takes to water. So tell about yourself. Let's hear
Yeah.
from Tanya about Tanya. Yes.
Absolutely. So my yeah, it was kind of spontaneous to be honest.
Mm.
And it was on the heels of the popularity of Twilight, as I'm
Oh,
sure many authors bloomed from that time frame. But for me, like it wasn't so much that, I read Twilight or and saw the movie and thought, "Oh, I can do that." It
mhm.
wasn't so much that. It was more the fact that as I researched and learned about Stephanie Meyer, she was a normal, regular mom, just like me. I mean, her origin story is that she had a dream and then she started writing the book at her kid's swimming lesson.
Wow.
And that was so normal for me. It was so grounded. She didn't come across, and I don't know her personally, I don't know what her connections might have been, but she didn't come across as somebody who had insider connections, who kind of thing. It wasn't any of that. She just had a dream, wrote a book, did the thing, and it worked. And so
Right.
that was really inspiring for me, right? And then that combined with I'd constantly be hearing, write the book you want to read, right?
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
all of that combined is really what motivated me to start writing. And then from there, at the time, so this was back in 2010, my kids were young and we were actually driving 45-minute commute for their school and my work and all that kind of stuff. And during that 45 minutes twice a day is when I did all my brainstorming.
Hmm.
And at first the kids were my sounding board. And I first started out, I'm like, okay, what do we want in this book? Like, what's going to be fun and cool? They got bored of that really quick, but I kept going with it. And so I actually wrote that first book over 45 days. It was
Wow.
88,000 words. Yeah, it was
How
really
many how many words? Sorry? 50,
88,000.
38.
88.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Huh.
Almost 90,000 words in 45 days.
Okay.
Mostly in notebooks, like steno pads, like
Yes.
nothing even fancy. I didn't have pretty notebooks back then. Um, and it was just stealing bits of time throughout. I mean, I was running my own business. My kids were young. I was commuting. Like I had a busy life. And
Hmm.
so it was really stealing those moments. And I wrote that first draft. Then some attempts at editing and revising and whatnot. Again, back then, I was new to it all. I didn't know pretty much anything about the publishing industry, self-publishing, any of that kind of stuff, or what the right things to do were or anything. So it was a lot of personal connections and family members. My mom used to be an editor, so that helped. She was one of my readers, and just there's about three or four of them in the community that had a background in some sort that I got to help with that. But none of them were like fiction editors. And so I ended up publishing that book in 2015. It didn't do bad. I went to a young authors conference and I probably sold like a few hundred copies of it
Wow.
overall within like 6 months or so. Um, I didn't know that was good at the time. Like to me, that was like, oh, this isn't working. This isn't right. Anyways, I mentioned before I had a trusted reader, a very avid reader, go through the book and be very honest with me about it. And there were some big problems. There were some big structural and developmental
Mm.
issues and plot and all that kind of stuff. So I unpublished the book in 2016. I was like, I need to fix this. This can't be it. This is not right.
Oh,
So I unpublished it and then life. Like I did continue writing since then. I've actually written about 8 books and some
wow.
short stories and whatnot, but I haven't published anything else. It's all been learning and writing and taking all that in while life around me was happening. Um, I'm now revisiting the book. I've gone back to my roots on it. I'm now rewriting it into what I always wanted it to be, where I'd missed the mark on it and stuff. So that's, I think that kind of brings us to present day as far as my book's concerned. Um,
What are your
little bit of,
passions? How do you disconnect from all this and
so
to empty your
interestingly,
mind, to just relax, and how do you create the work life balance? Or what happens when we are immersed in creativity is that like it's very difficult to disconnect and move. So how do you manage that?
well, it's a work in progress.
Mm.
I am on the hyperfixation spectrum of ADHD.
Oh.
So time
Mhm.
blindness
Mhm.
and overworking and burnout
Oh,
are things that I encounter and
all.
have encountered many times throughout my journey.
Mhm.
So I do a lot to pay attention to that. I'm very self-aware when it comes to these things. And so with my materials that I create for the teaching and stuff, like in my Patreon and everything,
Mm.
that's a big through line is really making sure that I'm helping and guiding authors and it helps me writing these materials in this way to avoid that overworking and burnout and that sort of thing. It's an important thread to me. I wouldn't say I necessarily have any like hot tricks of, oh, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is huge, right?
Right.
Even just a couple days ago, I'm a night owl, so I stay up late at night. I get
Mm.
up late in the day. My day runs from like 11 a.m. till 3 a.m. is
Wow.
my normal day. Um, but I'd had a couple of nights where I was up until like 4 or 5 a.m., which is late for me.
Mm.
And I felt it. I was crashing. My mood went down, the whole bit. And it was only a couple of nights. So that third night, I was like, pull the stops on everything. I'm going to bed. I was in bed by 1:30. I slept for like 9 hours and then I was great again
Yes.
because I was able to identify it. I recognized what was happening. If I had kept pushing through the way I always used to, it would have gotten worse and worse and worse, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, yeah, so like I say, I don't really have a trick. It's really about being self-aware and honest with myself that I can feel the difference and acknowledging when I'm in a bad mood, there's a reason.
That's true. It has been wonderful talking to you, and I think we still have lot of things to discuss with. Like there are the area of ghostwriting is there, and so many things are there. We have done 2 episodes today, and I think we'll come back with a more. We'll empty whatever we have come with today, and then we refill ourselves. And I want to have one more session, one or two more with you, because it has been not just about guiding. A lot of people come with apprehensions and questions, and there's a self doubt, and the imposter syndrome is huge for writers. And we have to talk about writer's block and what worked for you, what worked for me, and what can work for everybody else. Because I'm also deeply interested and connected with writing as therapy itself.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
there's lots that we can explore and discuss, because I'm very sure whatever we talk can, you know will just activate what is already there in people's minds.
absolutely.
Some things, I mean, like, things are just dormant and you need to.
Well, and sometimes we hear things from different perspectives, and
Yes,
it's that one way that clicks with us. This happens to me all the time. I'll
yes,
hear the same piece of information from like six different people, but it's the way one person frames it and talks about it that
yes,
clicks.
yes,
And I'm
right.
like, oh, I get it now.
That's yes.
So yeah, I fully agree
But
with you.
honestly, I'm so glad that you agreed to come on the show. And otherwise, what happens is there are beautiful people like you around the world, but very few times that we are able to really clinch and connect. And this also happens by chance. And I'm glad that we planned this,
Me
because
too.
it has been very enlightening, evolving, enriching, empowering. And I want more and more women to write. And that is why this podcast is called Evara Voices. Evara means God's gift.
Lovely.
And every guest coming on the show is God's gift. And what I plan is at the end of this year, I want to write about all my guests.
Nice.
So what they speak, what is the niche idea that they bring to the show, and how different are they from the rest of us, and how they cope with their challenges and came through. And there are stories lying everywhere. And so
Absolutely.
that'll be like my dedication to them. My Honestly, I mean, for them accepting to come on my podcast and talk, I want to offer that as a dedication, offering of gratitude.
Uh,
Thank you so
uh,
much for joining, Tanya. I'm really
Thank you for
indebted to
having me.
for this show, and I will let you know when it goes on air. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
joining.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Have a great year. I think by end of this year, both of us should have a new book. That's the promise we make here. Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you. Bye
Thank you
bye.
so much. Bye.